So I've been wanting to really post some stuff on YouTube, just because I'm a big YouTube fan. But also I feel like I'm a writer, and there's things that I can share easier and quicker, maybe even better, just by talking about them. And due to some recent events, I really, 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 really wanted to share a story that, if you saw the title of this video, you know what it's about. So this all started when it was the summer before my senior year of college. I've never been the fittest person out there, but in my early teen years, I began losing a lot of weight because I was going through some thyroid issues. And actually, that's not the center point of the story, but during that whole ordeal, let's call it, I actually had 8 goiters in my neck growing all around. And when you're 15, 16, you don't know anything about your health, and you act like you have all the strength in the world and you're the strongest person out there. And so I just remember one day coming home from marching band, and I was super tired, and my mom would notice that I was in marching band all 4 years, but at that point I was just coming home super tired. And that particular day, I just remember literally like almost passing out in the living room. I was just super tired, and she has thyroid issues herself, specifically hyperthyroidism. I have hypothyroidism. For those who don't know, that's the thyroid where you have trouble losing weight, you gain a lot of weight, and whatnot. So she just recommended, like, hey, let's go to the doctor. And I've always had a lot of health issues, like literally for everything. I don't remember a time where I didn't have to not go to a doctor. I've always gone to specialists for about everything from my feet to my heart, to my head, for the dentist, for everything. So I was just like, yeah, I didn't really understand. I didn't understand anything, but for me it was like, hey, I don't have to go to school. I miss going to marching band, but hey, I don't have to go to school. So after getting tested, they saw that I had the 8 goiters, and they're like, things are bad. And so they removed my complete thyroid. I had a complete thyroidectomy. That was in 2008, and I've been taking hormones like every day since. And as you can tell by my face, all the acne, it's not a one and done process. It's something that you have to regulate throughout all your life. A lot of people have thyroid issues. Usually your medication gets regulated about 2 years max after the surgery. For me, I always have to get my medication changed. I've never taken the same dose I want to say more than 2 to 6 months. And it's a never-ending process, but that's not the point of the story. But that is just to articulate that that was my first almost run-in with cancer, because I had all these nodules across my neck, and for some luck, nothing was cancerous, but of course that was a cause for concern, where I needed to have my thyroid removed as quick as possible. So fast forward to about 10 years later, we're almost in 2018, this is 2017. In January, I had a tumor removed, a retroperitoneal tumor. I can't even say the word, and it's something I had. These tumors are quite rare. They're behind all your major organs, and they're tied to major blood vessels. And if you know a little bit about that space, that it's tied to a lot of things. And mine was benign, thankfully. Well, I'll let the cat out of the bag early on this video, but it was big enough and causing too many issues to not be removed. And by some grace of God, and I apologize if you're not religious, but they basically told me it was pretty much like a paper width away from a major blood vessel, meaning that if I literally like by this much, like very little by very little, if it would have latched on, it would have spread and it would have been cancerous. So I'm a very religious person, and an experience like that where they tell you, you literally almost had cancer, and it was just because it was literally this much away, and they could see that if it just by a little bit more, it would have spread. So I was lucky. But the point of this video is to tell you how I got there. So in the summer before my senior year of college, like I was mentioning a little bit, I started going on like this health trend. I was in a good place in my life, better than before, but I just said, hey, I'm almost graduating, I want to make some changes. So started going to the gym, started eating good, started losing weight. But all of a sudden, it came to the spring semester before my graduation in May of 2015, and I started eating stuff, and every time I would eat something, I would have a lot of pain, and like to the point where I wasn't fun to go out with. I still went out with friends like every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but when it came to choosing a place to eat, I you couldn't choose with me. I would literally sit there, if friends wanted to go eat like tacos or late night Whataburger after going out. It was, it wasn't fun. And it was just because I couldn't explain it, and a lot of people thought, well, you're taking it too far, because I had started being a lot healthier, and they said, you need to let loose once in a while and eat a little bit more. But it wasn't necessarily that. I was willing to not eat so strict after I started losing enough weight for me to see the results and for me to be happy. But I don't know, I started getting this weird pain, to the point where I spent a lot of my money in things like IBS medication, medication for gastritis, medication for heartburn. I was treating myself. I was working a job and an internship, and was freelance writing. So even though I was making money, I'm a very conservative person. I don't like wasting my money, so I wouldn't go to a doctor. I was self-treating myself. But every time I would come to visit my parents, they would take me to their doctors, and they would just tell me to take the same type of medication. And again, I was basically treating myself by that point. So fast forward to the summer after my graduation, things slowly got better. I still wasn't eating, like I guess you would say normal, but I was, I was okay, and I wasn't being so strict with my weight anymore, because the pain was still there, but it wasn't too bad where it caused concern, I guess. I was worried, but it wasn't overpowering or overtaking my life. So a few months after that, I ended up moving to New York, and in New York, I've never asked my parents for money. They've given me money here and there, but my move to New York after my graduation was self-funded by myself. And so when I got to New York, some things happened. Long story short, I fell victim to a scam where I lost a lot of money with an apartment I thought I had, and then I lost my job while I was looking for an apartment. And it was just a big mess. And while I was looking for a job, I was trying to save money. I was paying $1,600 in rent, and then that went down to $1,350. But even then, there's only so much money a college student or a post-college student has, only a few months removed from the graduation. So what I would do to save money was I would go to Burger King every single day, Burger King and McDonald's. McDonald's had At the time, this was fall 2015, they had on their app, if you downloaded their app, you would get a free sandwich or a free burger. So what I would do is I would create different emails every day to get a free burger. And I would get the chicken sandwich because, again, I recognized that, sometimes I recognized bad food versus good food. And I thought, hey, I eat this chicken burger, that's enough to, keep me good for most of the day. And then at night, I would just eat, like, grapes. Every day I would go to the grocery store, the bodega near me, and I would buy a box of grapes and the chicken, whatever burger, and I would be good. And so a few weeks after that, the app, it wasn't working. And so I had to actually start buying food now. And so I would go to Burger King and I would buy the chicken nuggets that are only like $1 something and fries. And then that's when, the pain started coming back and getting even worse. And so it was a routine every single day. I lived in Harlem. If you've gone to New York, Harlem is near 125th, or it's 125th Street is in Harlem. And so it would be about a not even 10, but let's say 10-minute walk from where I lived in Harlem to the Burger King on 125th Street. So it was every day. And then I had some coupons, so sometimes I would get a good special, and so I would buy like two fries and like the nuggets, and that's what I would eat every day. Sometimes it was like $1 something, sometimes it was like $3 something, but that's how I was trying to save money, and that's everything I would eat. And again, if I was hungry later on in the day, it would be grapes or a bagel when I couldn't go to a Burger King for one reason or another. And so at that time, I hadn't worked out in about 2 months. And, I'm so protective over my money, that my dad actually sent me money to get, a gym membership. So I started going to the gym again, and I expected, my pain to start going away, because I thought, hey, it's because you're not going to the gym. You used to be so dedicated. It would be every day, no days off, until, my body told me I had to take a day off the gym. But I said, okay, I'm going to start feeling better. Everything else going on, I couldn't even concentrate on that because the pain started getting worse. And when I really, really knew something was wrong, and I will never forget it. It was just like any other day. I went to Burger King, and keep in mind that, again, I'm a freelance writer, so I would work from home a lot during that time, because I had lost my full-time job. So I was working from home, working at libraries and public places, but I would still do my morning routine of going to Burger King. And after that particular day, I ate my normal chicken nuggets. Excuse me. And I just remember having the worst pain ever. To the point where, I don't know, I've never had a kid, but I feel like that's how you feel when you have a kid, when your water breaks. I don't know. I just remember eating everything and then putting it in the trash can. And after I had gotten up to put that in the trash can, oh my God. And I had plans that day, but I was just hunched over with my hand like that. And I couldn't stand up straight. I was just like hunched over, and I literally had to walk, I want to say 15 blocks to where I lived, because I didn't know what was going on, and something was wrong. And so I just remember literally being hunched over, walking all the way to, why is this here? I just noticed it. Walking all the way to my apartment, and I lived on the 20-something floor. And so that elevator ride was the worst elevator ride of my life. I literally just hunched over. I couldn't stand up straight, and people, it was a short walk, but it was a long walk at the same time. And people, just kept giving me like, are you okay? What's wrong? But I walked as fast as I could to my apartment, and I literally just, I didn't collapse, but I literally just fell to the floor, and I was just like in a little fetal position, like in so much pain. And it was just, I didn't know what was wrong. I figured I had that type of pain before, but so that's what kept me calm. But it was back, and it was back worse than before. And so after that happened, I literally stayed lying down on the floor for a long time. And then I went to my bed and stayed laying down the whole day or whole afternoon. I didn't go to the gym. I was just lying down, and I didn't know what was wrong. And the next day, I woke up feeling better, but things were still, things were not okay, because I stopped doing the normal going to Burger King routine, because I thought, hey, I'm not an idiot eating fast food every day, even if it's the only thing you eat. It's not the best thing for you. So I started investing in buying groceries. I would eat bagels. I would eat a bagel, or I would eat cereal. I don't like milk, so I would eat cereal without milk. Or I would make myself little sandwiches, and even then the pain was still there, and it was coming back worse than before. And by that point, I sought help at free medical clinics, or in Harlem and in the Bronx, where if it was college students that would treat you, and they would all say, okay, you need to get this test done. We think it might be this, and of course, you're going there for a reason, because you don't have money to pay medical bills. So by that point, I said, what, hey, I've done 3 interviews for full-time jobs that I did not get. I was lucky enough to get 3 interviews with 3 major companies, but they weren't successful, and the pain was there, and I was running out of money, and I made the decision to go back home, because I said, I know I'm good enough to have a job here, because I had one with a major publication that I lost. My whole living situation with trouble was going on, and I had 3 other interviews with major organizations. 2 were with publications, 1 was just with a media organization in general. So I said, I know I'm capable, but I think there's a reason why I'm not getting the offers, and something's telling me I need to go back home. So I went back home because I needed to seek medical attention where it wasn't going to be so costly, and I'm from a border town, so I knew I could go to Mexico, and I can imagine what people are thinking by me saying that, or I could seek medical attention in my hometown. And so slowly by slowly, I started going to the doctors first in Mexico, and it was just the same thing all over again. Hey, you have gastritis, you have IBS, take Tums and heartburn medication, just all of that. And that lasted about a year, and that wasn't fixing the issue. I started gaining a lot of weight again. You could say it was because of stress. You could also say because of what was going on. And 2016 came around, and I said, no, something is wrong. And so I finally got some help paying medical bills from a program with my local hospital here in my hometown, where it wasn't necessarily free healthcare, but with them I would be able to see doctors, and I would only pay for certain things. And so that's where everything happened, and I'm looking at how long this video is, and I haven't even covered everything, but that's where everything started, where I would start going to the doctors. I started seeing my primary doctor, and it was the same thing again. Now instead of going to doctors in Mexico, I would go to doctors in the United States that would tell me the same thing. Are you stressed? Yeah, so this is just your body reacting to stress. I do have a history with mental health therapy, but there's a reason why I didn't tell them that, because there is a stigma, and even without them knowing about that history, I would get a lot of, it's in your head and you're making it up. do you need to talk to somebody? You should talk to somebody. And again, they did not know any of my history with mental health. They didn't know what I had accomplished, that I went to school outside of my hometown, that the freelance writing career I had began to establish, even before I graduated from college. They knew nothing about me. And even then, it was just, it's in your head, you're okay, it will go away, just, you need some time. So by that point, it's hard, it's hard to not tell yourself it's in your head when doctors who get paid to help you keep telling you you're okay. You're okay. No, there's nothing wrong. No, there's nothing wrong. But you feel the pain every single day in your stomach or in this abdominal area, like right here. And it would be every day after I would eat something. Let's say 2 to 5 minutes later, it would just be a big pain, a big cramping, and I would have to be like this for a while, to the point where I couldn't work because I was just in so much pain most of the day. And so my doctor, my primary doctor at the time, we had a rocky start, but she started recommending things like, take gluten out of your diet, don't drink caffeine, which I didn't, but she would say don't eat bread, don't eat milk products or dairy, don't eat this, don't eat that. So after literally cutting out category by category of different food items out of my diet, I wasn't losing weight and the pain was still there. It got to the point where I could only eat applesauce or tuna and tea every single day. And to spoil myself, I would eat Subway. And yes, that's bread, but I would only eat it once a week. And that's what I would eat every day. But again, I still wasn't losing weight and the pain was still there. So because of that, it was a hard battle with the people who were helping me with my medical bills, because when your doctor sends you to get blood work or a certain test done, and everything turns out like, okay, there might be something, but there's not something, it's pretty difficult for them to be able to help you when they only have so many limited funds, and there's people who are being helped by them who actually already are diagnosed, and you're not, and they're telling you that it's not, you're okay for now, there's something there, but you're okay. It would take about 2 weeks minimum to have every test approved, and then it would be another 2 weeks to get the appointment for the actual test, and then it would be another 2 weeks to get the results for that actual test, and then it would be about a week for my doctor to actually get the results for that test, and then it would be the same process over again. I saw specialists, and I apologize for not using all the technical terms, but again, I think it's a lot easier to just, speak in a way that everyone understands. I started seeing specialists for, in particular with my stomach. I went to see a heart doctor. I don't remember why that one in particular, but for the heart, I got every little test done by CAT scan, ultrasound of everything here. And a colonoscopy, endonoscopy, everything. And it finally got to the point where I got an ultrasound done. It was 3 months after my first original ultrasound, and this was like a, okay, we've done everything, but it's been a while since we checked, so let's check again to see, how everything is going, because you're telling us that nothing has changed, but, we saw that everything was, everything that you were feeling could be controlled by medication. So when I got that ultrasound done, that's when they found something. And again, that was the second ultrasound. And that was one of the happiest moments of my life. And that's very, very odd to say. But imagine, almost 2 years of your life when you keep telling people that something is wrong with you and nobody pays attention. And why do I feel like I'm going to start crying? But when you tell people for 2 years, and when you tell people for 2 years, and we're not proven wrong, and I don't want to say I felt vindicated, but again, going back to the history of mental health, I literally, it was starting against me. I literally started feeling like, okay, maybe I need to start going to therapy again. Maybe it is all in my head. And so after that, that's when I started, oh my god, I can't believe that made me cry. Okay. Anyway, so that's when I got sent to a cancer doctor. And that started a whole nother boat, because when I first saw that first oncologist, you see, now I'm forgetting all the terms, but yeah, when I first saw that first oncologist, that doctor, that, I think just remembering that is what made me start crying. That doctor was a piece of bleep. That doctor was, was everything I had gone through in one. That doctor literally was the first of 3 doctors that definitely, were completely rude, and not because, they're just completely rude. So that first doctor, the first time I went to see her, she said, honey, I treat people with real problems, and you don't have cancer, so I don't even know why you're here. You don't need to be here. And she literally said, do you want to have cancer? Because I kept asking her, okay, well, I just got sent to you. I don't know. I just remember her getting upset, after I told her, so what needs to be done, what's going on. And this, to clarify one thing, this was before they actually found the tumor. They had sent me with her because they said, let's go that route, just be sure. So this was before they found everything, and she was just rude. And so then they found everything, and then she was still very adamant that she couldn't help me. And she just said, no, we did blood work, there's no trace of cancer in you. She didn't want to do any more testing as far as, another ultrasound or another biopsy or something to see what exactly that was. She was just very no. She recommended for me to go speak with somebody. And my parents don't know English, and they were the people who always accompanied me to all my appointments. And with her, when she said, I recommend for you to go speak with somebody, I wasn't offended because of my past, but I was offended because she literally wasn't taking me seriously. And when she said that, I knew I never wanted to see that doctor or that doctor's office again. So I literally told her, okay, if you're not going to help me, that's perfectly fine. And by that point, she literally asked me to get out of her office. And so I said, sure. And the doctor, the room, the door was open. And I don't speak loud, as you can probably tell, but I'm assuming some of the nurses heard. And they all gave me the death stare as I was walking out, with my parents. And my parents, again, were confused because they don't know English, but they could tell that I had said something that offended the doctor. And, at that point, I was over it. And when I spoke with my primary doctor, I said, I want a second opinion. Send me to somebody who can give me a second opinion. And that's when she sent me with another oncologist in the same city, but it was a separate oncologist, and it was actually with the same oncology team that's located all across my home state of Texas, that my mother was seeing, because my mother has had cancer. Actual cancer is cancer 5 times. And so with that changed everything. I got a biopsy with contrast. I got more testing done, and that's when that's when I found out about what I mentioned earlier, that it was pretty close to some major veins, but because it wasn't touching, it hadn't spread. And they said, it's a little complicated to remove this, and because it's not cancerous, you might want, we don't need to remove it, you're fine. But by that point, again, I was just getting, my major organs were being compressed. I was too tired. I couldn't work. I was in I had actually gotten a doctor's letter from my primary doctor stating I couldn't work because she would see me, I would go at least once a week to her doctor's office. I was on food stamps. I could barely write because my head wasn't in the right space anymore, and not because of anything dealing like with my mental health, but I was just literally so tired. And so that doctor said, okay, let me send you with a surgeon and let's get their opinion, because since where it was located, not only was it compressing my major organs, which was the actual reason that I was having the pain, because of where it was, and that's why I was getting so bloated. I was having so much pain after I was eating because everything was being compressed, and again, that's why I was in so much pain after eating in particular. He said, let's get his opinion. And so when I went to see that surgeon, I won't cry for this part, but when he said, okay, I'm willing to do the operation, it was another sign that, it was a dangerous operation. And he said, I'm willing. He didn't say I can do it. He said, I'm willing to do it for you. Because another symptom that started occurring was that my legs would start falling asleep on their own, and like they started falling asleep to the point like where I couldn't move them. I would be like in a shopping store, I would be somewhere, anywhere, and I could be like, let's use the example of shopping. I would be at Walmart, at the grocery store. I would be there for an hour. I hadn't sat down at all, and my legs would randomly just fall asleep. I couldn't move. I would have to stay standing there with the shopping cart and act like I was looking at something, because my legs couldn't move. And my back pain, like, they found out I had scoliosis. Not bad enough to the point where I had to use like a back brace or anything, but I had a little bit of scoliosis. At first they said it was because of that, but when my surgeon saw everything, he said, no, it's not because of that, it's because of where the tumor is, and it's starting to mess with you even more, so we need to take it out, and I'm willing to do it because it's getting worse. So when he went over all the possible outcomes, I was just like, whatever, like, you're giving me like the best gift in the world, I don't care. Because they said, you might need to like use a bag afterwards because it can mess up this, and like, again, like, you might want to consider like that it's possible that when I'm doing surgery, you're gonna lose blood and all the typical stuff they tell you when you're going into surgery. But for me, it was, again, even though it was benign, it was compressing all my major organs. It was like that close to becoming cancerous, and literally it was getting worse and worse because, again, I couldn't walk a lot at that point. And so I just remember my parents being scared to death, and I said, you know what, I'm overage and I need this because I'm not functioning right. And so finally it got approved. By that point I had built up about $10,000 in emergency room debt because I had gone twice. One of the bills got forgiven, the other one I'm still paying off. Before that, I had also seen a oncologist, another specialist, who told me that he would be praying for me because nothing was wrong with me. And like the cancer doctor, he said, that God would be with me. After he did a certain test, he said, look, this is good. I recommend for you to go speak with somebody, but I'm praying for you. This was the last specialist we saw before we went to the surgeon, and by that point, my parents were frustrated too, because they were told, there's something inside me, and that doctor was still acting like, I don't know. And so by that point, it was almost 2 years to the start of all these problems. I was over it. That doctor was very offensive. He literally did the sign of the cross in front of me. He said, I'll pray for you. And I would just remember my parents being upset and saying, no, you need to tell her what's wrong. But he just said, no, I don't know. Just go back to your primary doctor and see what else he can do for you. So I said, okay. And I remember the car ride after that, I wasn't the one that was upset anymore, and I was them. And, it was another thing that I needed, not for him not to believe me or to act like a total, but I needed, I don't know, I knew my parents were supporting me, but that proved that I wasn't crazy and that they saw themselves again. They saw for themselves everything that I was going through. And so that was the second doctor. And the third doctor, I actually remembered it right now. It was actually one of the head doctors at my university's medical center. And I'm not gonna say his name, but let's just say that when I went, I remember they told me that he was working on somebody else's shift as a favor because they couldn't be there. So he wasn't like, he was a doctor that normally doesn't see a lot of people, but he was just like filling in for somebody. And this was again during the early stages of everything, where I told them what was going on, and I was just like, hey, I have a lot of pain, abdominal pain after I eat, and literally after I told him of all my symptoms, he asked for the nurse to step out of the room, because it was him and a student nurse. And after the nurse stepped out of the room, he said, I could see the stress all over your face since the moment I walked in here. You don't need my help. You need to see the counseling and mental health center upstairs. And he actually knew about my mental health history, because I had gone to the mental health center there. And after this happened, I know I could have gotten him fired, because he was one of their head doctors and who was actually still working there. But he basically was offensive, and we'll just leave it at that. Because he said that and a whole lot of other things that I know he couldn't have known without looking at my records. And even though, your therapist's records are confidential, let's just say he mentioned some things that I only mentioned to my therapist, and he somehow knew about them. So he said, you need to go see your counselor up there. There's nothing going on with you here. Okay. And I just remember crying. I started crying, and the student nurse was outside, and she didn't know what was going on. And after everything he told me, he walked away, and I wasn't like bawling, but the student nurse came in confused, and he just told her, she's fine. If she needs a follow-up appointment, told her where to go. And I didn't respond. I didn't tell him anything. I literally was crying. I should have, but I was crying. And when I was walking out, some of the nurses pulled me aside, because when I was making my appointment, I was still crying, and they said, honey, like, you can't go, like, let's talk. And so when I was talking to the nurses, let's just say that this doctor had a reputation, and they said, you can file a complaint, and we can help you. But this doctor, didn't do anything physically inappropriate or anything of that sort. It was just, what he was saying was not appropriate. So I just said, no, it's fine. Like, I don't want this to be categorized as just because of my past. And again, I've never, to clarify on that, like, I only sought therapy because of depression. Like, I never had any intent to hurt myself, nothing of that sorts. But it was just a depression that was very long. And obviously something new for me, so I had been in therapy for about 2 years. It wasn't anything where I needed to take medication. I got offered medication, but I said no, and you know, it got treated by therapy. So this doctor was very, I guess, let's say, offensive again, because I don't want to repeat everything he said. We'll just leave it at what I mentioned about what he said. So with those 3 doctors in my past, again, that's why when the surgeon said what he said, you know, that he's willing to do the surgery, it was the best. Another one of my like a very happy moment. And so the surgery finally got done, and everything went okay. You know, I got 28 staples. Yeah, 28 staples in my stomach. I won't let you see. Oh wait, you saw already. Oh my god. You saw some of it, but yeah, I got the staples. And then just to end this video, I actually got misdiagnosed, and that was a whole nother video where they had said that it actually had lashed on and that, you know, it became cancerous. But then they got clarity, and then they said no, that it hadn't become cancerous. So yay. And now about 10 months about 10 months removed, you know, I'm still losing the weight. I'm back to my weight. I'm like 5 pounds heavier than when I first started. No, I'm at my weight. I'm at the weight that I was before I started working out. So my goal is to lose about 12 more pounds. That's where I want to get. And that's a whole nother ordeal when people keep saying, you know, that it's not healthy for you to diet. Like, you know, you lost a lot of the weight already. Like, stop, you know, being so strict about what you're eating. And, you know, that should be for another video. But, you know, when you have a cancer or benign cancer, you know, that's a whole nother topic where some people see benign tumors still as cancer, still as a type of cancer, other people don't. So when you have a tumor, you know, you don't want to let it win. It didn't win, but I'm still, you know, dealing with the repercussions, you know. Again, I was living my New York life, and even though the original reason why I lost my job wasn't because of my health, you know, I was still there with an intent to live there, and I started getting sicker, and now I went a long time again without work, and I'm just, you know, saving money, and, you know, I want to go back to New York, but, you know, my health is slowly starting to get better, and yeah, that's my story. That's my tumor story. And I guess it's just a reminder that sometimes you can't just assume. I never knew, and like I said, I want to film more videos, but I never knew the amount of strength I had. And so I had to go through all of this, and I never, like, I wasn't willing to take no for an answer. Like, it took a while to get other people's support, because of course when a doctor tells you that, you know, you're okay, you know, obviously who's not going to believe the doctor? Like, that's what they do. But you know, it was important for me, and not only as somebody who's dealt with mental health, but to, you know, fight against that stigma, even with the doctors who didn't know about that past. It was important for me to, you know, not let it get to me because I knew something was wrong. It was important for me to feel, in that sense, yes, vindicated, because I had to move back home because of my health. And again, when you're living your dream, all I ever wanted Well, not all I've ever wanted, but all I wanted for a pretty long time was to work at a magazine in New York, and I was finally doing that, and I accomplished that all by myself, because in that world it's a lot about connections. I did it all by myself. And I let it go because of my health, so it was very important for me to get an answer, and I finally did. And yeah, it's just a reminder that this is most. I thought I was gonna say everything on here. It's not, but it's a lot of it, so we'll leave it at that. And yeah, hopefully I film other videos soon. I did mention that I've never, or I don't remember, I don't think I mentioned that my health's not the best, so currently dealing with other health dramas. Again, you could see by my face the thyroid issues are always still there, and I do suffer from migraines, and so my health insurance is currently suspended, so I'm waiting to see if it's going to get renewed or not, because again, it's a special, maybe you don't even want to call it insurance, it's just a special medical assistance I'm getting, so hopefully that gets renewed, because I've had a lot of possible run-ins with stuff in my head, aka other tumors here, so here's to hoping everything goes well with that in January, because January is when I'm supposed to know whether or not my insurance gets renewed, so I can go and see my specialist or another for migraines, and get checked and see if everything is okay once and for all, because the last time I got checked was it was last year, 2016, so it's been a while, but yeah, that's it. And I guess, how did my tumor make me better? It made me see that, hey, when you really want something, you gotta fight for it. I wanted an answer and I got it, and it wasn't easy, and I literally sacrificed a lot for it. Again, my dream job, I left the city where I went to school at because that's where all my friends are, or most of my friends are. I sacrificed a lot for my health, and sometimes you have to do that in order to be healthy, both mentally and physically healthy. And so I'm proud of my decisions. I don't regret my decisions, because if it wasn't for that not tenacity, that dedication to get an answer, I wouldn't have gotten it, and I did. And so just, it doesn't necessarily have to be for your health, but when you want something, you gotta fight for it, and I did. And so now it's just on to the next, and hopefully not the next video that's this long. But anyway, if you've watched, thank you so much, and see you soon.